Edgar A. Guest, an author in the early 20th century, wrote, "Each one of us has friends that he has yet to meet and really know." It's amazing how true I've found these words to be in my own life. I've come to realize how much you can see a person, eat at the same restaurants, walk by them in the halls of school, know all their friends, but never meet them. This is a story about two people who became friends, and their lives were never the same. Arcade, New York is a small town, surrounded by farmland, filled with picture-perfect neighborhoods and picturesque churches. Arcade Elementary was an average red brick elementary school. He absolutely hated school. In the first few days tried escaping. She, on the other hand, was the sweetest kindergartner you could imagine. They had different teachers, Mrs. Yancic and Mrs. Okel. Their classrooms were on different sides of the school, but they had the same lunch period. Every day they would pass by each other, whether getting their lunch or taking up their tray, never knowing the other existed. They grew up, mere miles away from each other, still never meeting. Her family owned a pizzeria where she learned how to throw pizza dough, and she lived right in town where she would play with the neighbors and walk her dogs. He lived at a camp in the hills, where every summer he would meet hundreds of new friends, but none of them were her. A couple of years went by and his dad was asked to speak at her family's church. That changed everything. They met. They not only met, his dad was asked to speak again and again, and the next year they had the same teacher, Mrs. Rice. Now things didn't always go perfect. He was a little obnoxious, and she learned to be patient. Then middle school came, and they went their separate ways. She went to a private Christian school, and he went to a public school. This could seem like it would cause their new friendship to fade, but even though they didn't go to the same school together, they still went to church together. In the summers, she came to his camp, so they continued to see each other, but not too much. They didn't want anyone to think that they liked each other, but people did, and they would tease and talk marriage. And it sure didn't help that the next year they were co-stars in the camp summer movie. Not only were they co-stars in that movie, but for the next 8 years, they were the main characters in the camp's movies. They had numerous fight scenes, the occasional cheesy line, and all of the awkward stages forever captured for the world to see. Sophomore year of high school, she came to public school. They went to class, they helped lead their school's Bible club. They went to school together every morning and started a prayer group in the foyer of their school. She started to work at his camp. The constant Corey and Topanga joke was thrown out, and the first date being pizza was a constant joke. He was really friendly to a lot of girls at camp, and sometimes she would think he was a little too friendly. She had enough of his games, so she decided to move on. He could not have been happier. Finally, she won't be jealous when I smile at other girls, he thought, but his tune would soon change. He saw her start to get interested in other guys, which at first was a relief, but soon would turn to the very jealousy he despised. But what could he do? This is what he wanted. He didn't want her anger, but it seemed as though he couldn't stand not having her attention. They graduated high school. At this point, she could have done anything. She graduated in the top 20 of her class. The world was her oyster. He had no plan. He ended up at the community college in his town, but lucky for him, so did she. Every day he would pick her up in his dad's Chevy Blazer and take her to class. They would buy themselves coffee just to try to stay awake. Life was simple. Life was good. But then a reality shock came. She went on a date with another guy. He was beside himself. He was always too afraid to make anything official between them. What if she wasn't the right one? What if making things official ruined their friendship? What if... He had to. He couldn't stand seeing her with anyone else. So he did it. One rainy October day, he did it. He asked her to be his lady. After a punch and a few tears, she agreed. They were official. Soon to be officially long distance. She talked him into applying for the Disney College program because she was applying. He did, and he got accepted. But she didn't. Well, he didn't even want to do it, so he just wouldn't go. But she wanted him to go, and after a lot of praying and thinking, that August he went. And thanks to her, he had one of the best times of his life. She stayed, and she worked at her family's pizzeria and made the most of her time. Soon he would be home, and they would agree that long distance is the worst. He was never the one with a plan, but thankfully she was. She reminded him to apply for his dream school, Moody Bible Institute, where she was also applying. He got his acceptance letter that March, and she got a letter, a different letter, a letter telling her that she was on the waiting list. It wasn't a flat-out no like Disney, but it wasn't a yes either, so they waited, hoping that long distance was behind them. And it was. She got her acceptance letter too. They were going to Chicago. When they got to Chicago, they realized they had been dating 2 years, and that most couples at Bible school would have been married after dating 2 years. Should they get married? The idea scared him. He wasn't ready for that. How could he support her? They decided something huge that first year. That before they could build their home, they had to make sure everything was ready. They realized that the season of college flies by, that before they knew it, they would be sophomores and juniors, and she would find out that she loves being an RA and he loves traveling the world. They learned that it is so important not to rush the seasons, but rather bloom, like a blooming flower in spring or a lightning bug on a cool summer evening, just being in the moment and making the atmosphere you're in better. So they did. They invested in the people around them, and before they knew it, they were dating for almost 5 years. This is unheard of, people would say. What is wrong with him? People would ask her. When are you popping the question? They would ask him. To say the pressure didn't get to them wasn't true. They were constantly doubting their choice to wait. Was it the best? Could they better serve their community if they were married? But the question would come back. Was everything ready? No. But it soon would be. And when that time would come, how would he ask her to marry him? What would he do? He waited for almost 5 years to ask. It had better be good.
So, you ready for tonight?
I'm ready.
It's a big night. Movie premiere 2017. Are you excited about it? Yeah, me too. Are you excited, Sarah?
I'm so excited.
Grandma, are you ready for tonight? Good. Damn, now that's a good looking man. That's a good looking man. What a woman.
Ladies and gentlemen, I got a question for you tonight. Are you guys ready to see yourself in a movie? Well, with no further ado, I present to you Circle C Ranch Productions 2017, Take 2. Did you guys like the movie? So, I don't know if you guys have seen a lot of our movies, but do any of you recognize this girl from the movies? We've been making movies for 15 years, and that's like a good part of like our friendship. So what we would like to do is we want to show you a little recap of all the years that we've been making movies since it's the 15 years. So go ahead and watch the screen.
It started out as something small. Who would know that 15 years later it would grow into something so much bigger? In the beginning, there were doubts. Would this continue? Could this be sustainable? Is it worth it? Who would have guessed what it would turn into? Hours and hours of time were put into it, making sure that it would be the best it could be. While it was a lot of fun, it was a lot of work. People were brought in to join, the more the merrier, they would say. There would always be some difficulties, but that would be expected as it grew. It has really turned into something wonderful, but tonight, everything is about to change.
Well, looking back, it really makes me realize how thankful I am for your friendship. It makes me realize how much I love you. And it makes me realize how much I want to spend the rest of my life with you. So, okay? So, do you say yes?